Earlier in the month, President Obama made it known that he had no intention of enforcing the so-called employer mandate of his Affordable Health Care Act until January 2015. But never mind the fact that he has no authority to selectively enforce mandates anyway. But let's focus on what this actually means. It means the administration knows how flawed Obamacare actually is, but they don't want you to think about that until after the 2014 midterm elections. Unfortunately for the administration, certain members of Congress are using the president's own admission to whip up support to defund the law before certain provisions kick in. But how likely is that really to happen? My next guest will give us some valuable insight into this. Jordan Sekulow, the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
So here we are, and now it's a fight of Republican versus Republican. It's not Republican-Democrat like when this Obamacare was getting rammed through Congress. We're actually fighting each other now because we have the question of should we defund the government to get rid of this thing, or should we let it fall on its own? What do you think we should do here?
Right. I mean, you've got this interesting effort playing out right now, specifically in the U.S. Senate. You have Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Mike Lee, who have launched this website through the Senate Conservatives Fund called Don't Fund It or Don't Fund Obamacare. They both go .com. They both go to the same site. And there's a list of the 46 Republicans. And on that site, right on the homepage, you can join a petition. And I think over 80,000 people have, American people. But you can also see all of the Republican U.S. senators. And some are in green. Those are the ones that have pledged to defund Obamacare and make that part of either the debt ceiling or a continuing resolution to continue to fund the government, which is in 62 days. So we have another one of those deadlines coming up, the end of September, September 30th, where if, they either have to pass one of those resolutions that says, well, we'll keep funding the government, or actually come up with a budget. I think it's more likely the first option is that they'll actually just do a continuing resolution. This would have the Republicans pledge to say, we're not doing that resolution unless we don't fund Obamacare, not forever, but for the next year. And they're basing this off of the fact that the president, as you were talking about, has said, listen, the employer mandate, the administration said, is not ready. The exchanges, they can't even check to see if you really do need assistance, all of that.
Right. Well, no kidding. I mean, we all knew this. Most of the American people who were duped into thinking that, oh, this is great. We're going to be able to keep our own doctor. Your premiums are going to go down. Well, no, it's actually not the case. Obama admitted that himself. And here they said, uh-oh, this is not going to work. So we have a midterm election coming up. This can be an election issue. Let's just postpone it, and then everyone will think we're great because we're really trying to fix it. But we all know that this is a disaster. But my concern here, and I'm old enough to remember, don't let my youthful exuberance fool you, I'm old enough to remember the government shutdown in the 90s and how that actually came back to hurt us. On principle, I get it, but I think there's a lot of people in the establishment who are saying we can't go down this road again. It's a losing battle. I mean, what do you say?
Sure. I mean, that's the issue. You're seeing the political strategists and very good strategists. I mean, there are Karl Roves and others out there saying, if this happens, we're going to be in the same boat as we were in the 90s. I think the question will be, this is not launched with a week's notice. We have 62 days here until that has to be voted on, right? So September 30th.
Right,
this
including
is not
August
we
recess.
have to decide in 3 days.
Right, including August recess, which gives members a month to sell it.
To talk to their constituents. So I think as much as it's up to so many of these senators, some on this list who said, oh, I'll fight, to do everything, the Republicans, not just Democrats here, we're talking about Republicans, who said, I'll fight to the ends to stop this law. Are their constituents going to say, yes, no, I don't want to shut down, or do they not care? And so it's up to the American people to an extent. I think that's going to answer the question for us probably in the next 30 days. Do they support their members of Congress enough to actually go through with a possibility of a shutdown or even a shutdown itself?
And I think it's incumbent upon the Republicans to message this properly, because I think we should do whatever we need to do to stop this thing. I mean, this is devastating, potentially devastating to American businesses, to American people. I mean, even members of Congress and their staff are going, oh, this applies to us too. I mean, people are panicking over this. Businesses aren't hiring folks. I mean, people have no idea. Maybe they're starting to recognize what kind of problems this is going to cause on a day-to-day basis, but it's really up to the Republicans to message this in a way that the average person understands how this affects them. We cannot go talking platitudes and getting into the weeds about health care and this and that. No, if this goes through, this is how much you're going to pay. This is how it will affect your family. This is how it will devastate your business. The end. And I think once people hear that, I think they'd be in agreement, right?
And that is the goal. You know, that is the ultimate end game here, is that the administration so far, the Obama administration, has been better at pivoting quickly on these kind of debates. And so now with the 62 days, we have to, as conservatives, if you support these efforts, you're going to have to be ready to explain why you'd be willing to go to the table on a shutdown over this issue. And I think the first key is that most of this discussion is actually not based on, is the law constitutional or do we like it or not? No, it's about the fact that the administration, not Republicans. I think that's important to point out. The administration that had to actually make this law work admitted it can't.
That's right.
They at least need another year. And who is going to believe that? The federal government's going to meet its own deadline, never does. The part two of that is that if you don't stop entitlement programs before everyone starts paying into them, which will be October 1st, the exchange is open, then January 1st of 2014 for individuals who are not exempted, like businesses were, from the mandate. If you don't stop them now, we look at Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, what happens? We never say we'll get rid of it. We just say throw more money at it, throw more money at it. And that's exactly what will happen with the health care law if this isn't stopped early on. So this is one of the, I think, the final opportunities for the senators, members of Congress, the House could do this as well, to stop this under the Obama presidency.
Well,
could it happen again in a few years? Maybe. But it's very tough to repeal these programs when they actually go into any kind of effect. Even if they're bad, people don't want us to get rid of them.
You're right. And the House has voted 40 times now to repeal health care, ObamaCare, and it goes nowhere. We have to realize that even if the House and Senate pass this, Obama has to sign it, which I don't think he's going to do. But I think we should still keep fighting and stick to our guns on this.
And that's why the shutdown has got to be threatened.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's why you've got to threaten a shutdown for it to
agree.
work. Or else you're just passing to pass. And so we'll see if the backbone's there. But I think it's up to the people who are watching right now. They've got to tell their senators and their members of the House, I support you on this. And if they don't hear from you, then they're going to be worried again, like they were in the 90s.
You're right about that. Jordan, thank you very much. I appreciate it.